already number one real estate.
Yes.
We try different wines.
What's your favorite wine? Red or white? Hold on, first.
Red.
Okay, all right.
I'm sophisticated.
I think a part of me was just like, y'all, we've been great. You're just now figuring it out, but we've been great. That's who we are. It's in our DNA.
To like do my Colossus Deadpool like impersonation, 1 or 2 moments, right? It's
And I'm sitting there in my head going, I wonder if I can somehow sniff the traffic going from the armband. It's got to be talking to an API or something.
to the next cocktail, to the next conversation.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the C3 podcast. It's your boy, your uncle's girlfriend's cousin's favorite host, David Lee, aka the Identity Jedi. And we got a special guest, and as everybody knows on this podcast, all my guests are special because I always say that about all my guests. But we have Mr. Ty Wilson, Tipsy Ty, in the building tonight.
Maybe not yet. I might get there though.
Okay.
I might get there.
Okay, we got to get Tipsy Ty to come out to the building and hang out. But no, hey man, Ty, pretty much. Thanks for being on the show and coming on and having this conversation, man. I know for us is the really time we got a chance to kind of really just kind of talk, but we've kind of been in the same circle now, like the Twitter sphere for a couple of months now. And so that's just been really cool. I love the community that's built on there, man. I've been so fortunate to stumble across that community the last year. It's been dope, man.
Yeah, I mean the community right now is it's going through some things. It's going through some things. We talked about it. We feel like everything's gonna work itself out. Hopefully the people are mature enough, to act like adults even when they have disagreements, to get through it all. Because there was a Twitter space last night that had some mixed reviews.
Really?
I went in there, I listened. For some reason it was called Why I Hate Black Tech Twitter.
Word. What?
Yeah, the title alone kind of put me in a bad way.
Yeah.
But I got in, I listened, and it was a little bit of back and forth. There were some things that I liked, some things that I didn't like. But I just, for the most part, stayed out of it because it was too much, right? It was like 1,000 people in there, but only 4 or 5 people talking.
Right.
And the people that were talking, for the most part, were saying things that I don't agree with. So I'm not confrontational at all. So I just gotta let it go.
Well, I mean, that's unfortunate, but then also like, and this is crazy. Now I want to go back and follow up, and just kind of find out like what that was about. I didn't see it, but I can kind of guess, right? Here's this crazy thing we're in this world of social media, right? And you find it with like Clubhouse and all these different places that things come up. Like what I love about today's day and age, right, is that we can all connect and anybody can kind of give a voice and opinion, and we can do it in such a much more defined way than we could before, right? Yeah. But also with that is like everybody gets brave and bold on the internet, right? And so not everything on the internet is true, can be true, right? If you've got the ability to get on there, like I can create a website, anybody can do things. And so what you get is this mix of people who generally want to create a community and who are generally trying to do something, but you're always going to have certain people who are taking advantage of that, right? Who see an opportunity to come in and do something, right? And it's hard to tell the real from the fake, right? And there's no really good, for lack of a better word, like verification system of like who somebody really is.
Exactly.
What they're about.
Exactly. I think one of my main beefs was the fact that, and just me speaking for myself personally, I feel like I have a responsibility, to help as many people as I can. Like it's already tough out there. Yeah. Right. So there's no need for us to make it tougher for each other, right? We should make it easier for each other.
Absolutely.
And I realize that there's people out there that understand how to manipulate the algorithms, right?
Yeah.
And in my mind, the power of the influence comes great responsibility.
Yeah.
right? And these people are out there, they're hungry, you know what I mean? And they're looking to be fed.
Yeah.
And if you present yourself as a food source, they're going to come to you.
Right.
So don't, I mean, I understand that you're taking advantage of, social media and what's being presented to you, but I still feel like you have to understand that there's a lot of hungry people out there,
Yeah.
right? And, just something as simple as a retweet can mean the difference between generational wealth or not,
Right.
right? Especially in this game. So, I mean, if you got it, there's enough out there for everybody. So everybody should eat,
Yeah. It's it's plenty enough for everybody, and it's not this especially in the tech and cybersecurity space, dude. Like it literally changes
yeah,
every quarter, right?
yeah,
Like every quarter, like it's just every couple of months, right? There's new things coming, and there's so many niches, there's so many areas for people to come in and eat, right? So there's no need to sit there, there's no need to gatekeep, there's no need to do anything. And so yeah, man, it's I mean it's a shame that that's out there, but it's definitely then up to the people in the community, like the ones that that actually are in it and are genuine. I think that's when it's for those people to step up and just say, hey, okay, cool, let me do more and provide more and be able to fight against the other things that are coming there, the people that are manipulating the algorithm, to say, hey, let me actually give you what the real stuff is, which is at any time that I don't engage much on there, and I'm starting to do a little bit more, but anytime that I'm in any of those, right, I was like, just connect with me offline, like one-on-one, like give my link, let me actually sit down and figure out like what is it that you're trying to do and how can I help, right?
Yeah.
Because giving general advice over there, I mean, I'm all about that, and I'll give people all the knowledge that I have. But for me, I feel like then it's like, really, if I can figure out exactly what it is you're trying to go, then let me comb through my network and figure out, okay, if it's not something I can directly walk you into, let me hook you up with this person.
Yeah,
let me over here. Let me put you on this path. Let me get you around the people that I know that can get you to where you need to go. Because to your point, like it's, I feel like I kind of have some of the same responsibility. Like we have to, right? Like this path, this career is done so much for me. I'm just like, so I know what it can do, like for other people. So
exactly.
It's like, and please don't have to go through 80% of the bullshit that I had to go through.
Oh man.
Right?
Oh man, you think I want another person, to work 20 something years to be successful? No, right?
No, I want people to be coming in and get this. I'll say this: I want people to come in and get the bag as soon as it makes sense for them to get it. Right? I am against that. Right? Like I don't say against it, but I'm very much like, hey, this is a very lucrative path. Like, but like, come in and understand it. Like the bag's gonna come, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not one of these people who's like, oh, quit tomorrow, I'll get a 6-figure job, like work. I'm like, you gotta work to get there, right?
Yeah, understand why you got it. You know what I mean?
Like they're not just handing out, these jobs just cause. It's like there's real responsibility to come with it. And there's some, in this career field, there's some toxicity with it, right? There's some 15-hour days. There's some like weekends. There are some things that you have to be prepared and ready to get into. This ain't just, okay, now I'm in tech and I'm all good. Like you do got to put in some work. Yeah. And I have seen a lot of pushback from people around that, right? Like just, well, this person said this, and I'm just like, I don't know anything who that person is. I'm not knocking that person. I can only tell you what I've seen, what I've done, and what I've seen around the people that I know, right? And what they've got to get through to get there. So that's all I can tell you, right? I can't tell you anything else.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
So shifted to I don't say like a positive note, but we'll say it shifted to a positive note, man. Let's
go.
Let's get into a little bit about you, Ty, man. Give the people, a little bit about your background, how you got into cybersecurity, right? And what's kind of led you to the path that you are today.
Sure thing. I was supposed to play college football. that was my goal. I was living in Massachusetts. I was supposed to go play college football. I was going to be a quarterback. But things happen in life. Parents split up, and I ended up joining the military after high school. I knew what I wanted to do. I crushed all those tests in the military, so I had a really bunch of good options.
Right.
I went into communications, But the communications shop that I worked in essentially turned into a help desk. This was back in 96, 97. So I just parlayed those help desk skills to a civilian job working as a help desk supervisor at a law firm.
Okay.
So after my first 4 years of active duty, I needed to do 4 more years of reserve time to complete my very first contract. It just so happens that my reserve unit ended up being an information operations command at Fort Devens, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So I was going there. They didn't even issue us weapons. They issued us laptops and, told us, here's some paperwork. Go through this paperwork so you can learn how to watch yourself, hack yourself, right? Ethereal. It was like before Wireshark, before all the
Right.
good stuff. And we were on rotation for deployments. I never thought I would get deployed, but we were on rotation, and I thought the deployment would be like a beans and bullets deployment, but it wasn't. The mission for the unit was to be in charge of all of the network intrusions for all of Iraq. So it's the RCERT SWA.
Okay.
So in order to get deployed, before deployment, we had this pre-deployment training, which was about 4 or 5 months. So I was like in that very first group of 20 people for ArcSite training. I think my ArcSite certificate is like 22, 23, right? Student number 23.
Right.
And, spending time at Lackland Air Force Base with the Air Force, doing all the incident handling, network defense stuff, vulnerability assessment. This is back when it was called DDVAP, the Do-It-Yourself Vulnerability Assessment Program. And we were just going from post to post to post doing vulnerability assessments. And I actually did that twice, in 2003 and then in 2009. So I was cleared out of TS, SCI clearance, and I just kind of parlayed that into a civilian job. One of the things that I didn't know was my worth, right? I didn't know how much I was going to get paid, but it was about 10 grand off of 6 figures back in 2003, right?
Yeah.
2004. So I wasn't hurting,
Right.
So I knew the possibilities, but my very first job was at JTF GNL. It's now called US Cybercom now. So I led a team of SOC analysts. I was a Fusion Cell team lead there. And because we had these skills, we just wanted more, right? More. So we ended up me and a couple friends ended up getting a job at the FBI, doing network defense at the FBI ESOC. So we were working every single day. Like I saw my two fellas more than I saw my girl, right? Because we was just there every day. And, once you got a certain set of skills and you keep you got a good name for yourself, people will hire you.
Yeah.
And we just kept doing that. I got into pen testing maybe 8 years ago. And I just wanted to be well-rounded. And I started a meetup group in 2012. The meetup group exploded. We started doing 2 meetups a month. And, started doing the workshops. The workshops led to me getting contracts. And then I just kind of kept going, kept grinding. Right?
Yeah, just kept going, right?
Kept grinding. And now I'm here. And, I've always been about the people, never been rah-rah, with the marketing or anything like that. I always wanted it to be organic. So if you knew about me, then, either someone told you about me or something piqued your interest about me. And, I just kind of, try to live that way.
Yeah. And the name of your company is Cover 6 Solutions, right?
Cover 6 Solutions. It's a tribute to my military experience, meaning like I got your back, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock.
Okay.
I got the solutions to cover your back, and I'm an IPv6 enthusiast. So eventually, when people stop running from IPv6, I'll be able to help them out.
Yeah, I figured it was announced to the football days, but okay, I see. I got it.
We'd have run a Tampa 2 or something. We'd have run that old Tampa 2. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, man. So that's a couple of things you hit on there, right? That I kind of want to expand on with you, right? We were talking, like earlier, right before we started, recording the pod, right? Just that what I love about like your story and your journey, right? Like it's piece by piece, right? and you just build it. And I think a lot of people, when they look in this career field, you see all these jobs, you see all these people with these 6-figure jobs and things of that nature. And it's just like anything else, right? I think when what we've made so accessible with the kind of social media lifestyle, right, is we can show you snapshots of people, right? But you don't see the whole movie. You just see the snapshot.
Yeah.
And what you don't realize is between snapshot A and B is like 2 years worth of work or 3 years worth of work, but you just see the snapshots, right? So I think it's important for people to understand, like, those success principles of, find what you want to do and then just start taking the steps and start knocking it down.
Yeah.
Right?
It seems like people want that Kobe lifestyle, but they don't want that Kobe work ethic.
Right.
And I think the problem is that, they're seeing people get it without the work ethic.
Right.
So yes, it is possible, but it's highly unlikely.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, some of those people got lucky. Some of those people had a good start. Some of those people, may have had a good foundation to fall back on. It's not always going to be like that. But I can tell you, a tried and true method is to put the work in.
Right.
Right.
And it's interesting, right? Because it's funny as I look at life now, right? So as I enter my 40s, right, and I kind of life, yeah, man, getting up there, the gray coming in, and getting settled.
I finally found a gray hair.
Finally found one.
Finally found one. I'm gonna call it Ready to Love. Because she's.
Oh man! All right.
Yeah.
You call it Ready.
Yeah, I lost my hair a long time. I lost my hairline a long time ago. But finally got it gray.
It's been staying in there. So
good for you.
Hopefully it'll stay in there. I looked at the genetics pool and I'm like, I got a shot.
I don't at all.
Pop still got a full head of hair, so I'm like, it's a shot. You're telling me there's a chance.
He's young and healthy. I mean, he's a 70 something healthy,
right?
But he ain't got no hair.
Yeah, man. I think I remember when I was younger, right? My stepdad would always talk about. It's funny, the same thing we talk about now. Work ethic versus this, and I remember the older people then used to say, your generation, you want everything fast, and all this stuff or whatever. And I was like, all right, whatever. And it's so funny now, like looking back, it's still the same thing. Whereas I look at it, I'm like, all right, I came through, was like, okay, I realized coming out of high school, going to college, I was like, all right, this idea of working 40 years for one company and retiring to get a pension, I was like, that's never going to happen. Like, I just saw, I was like, the world doesn't work that way anymore, right? Like, companies just don't exist that long anymore, right? Like, unless I go work for one that's been around centuries, like that just doesn't happen. And the idea of pensions has completely gone to the wayside. I was like, so it's about being opportunistic and finding the things and crafting what I want to be my path. So I saw that, but I always knew that work was going to be in there. But also, like, I enjoyed the work, right? And it's as I talk to more people, as I'm trying to find patterns, right? Most of the people that I've talked to that have been successful have some kind of like either athletic background or like something that instills discipline in them. They did something that had some kind of regiment where if it was like learning a skill like the piano, like a musician or something like that, or athletics or military, like at some point, right, they realized the importance of discipline and regiment, which is like, okay. And they saw not only that, but they saw the benefits of it, right? The biggest thing that I took from playing football was just that, okay, I know that if I know how to work, I know how to get to the gym and work, and why that's important. I know how to study film, like I know how to apply these things. And I know that if I keep working on something, like how to get better. And I look at from the time I started, like my freshman year, like made varsity in the freshman year, like in like each year I just got better. I found something to work on the next offseason. I want to do this best. I want to do this better. And it was like repetition. And while it seemed like when I was doing it, I was like, I'll never be able to do this. And then I look back, I was like, oh yeah, that's easy. Right now I can do this. Applying that mentally for me to other things just kind of came natural, right? And when you start to look at people's and start to pull up those success principles, you see the same thing, right? It's finding something that you are and it's like, okay, this is an area that I need to get better at and go grind and go develop. And then you start to see everything else that comes with it. And to your point about the ones that when you see certain people that kind of offshoot, and it's like, okay, well, they don't have the work ethic, but they did this. What I say is, what I tell people is like, what you're not hearing is the whole story. Because I guarantee if you dig into that whole story, to your point, it's either luck or it's network. Like something's there that gave them an edge that they're not telling you about.
Yeah, and maybe they had a special talent. You know what I mean? Maybe they had a talent to talk to somebody, or they got in there, or a connection, or something happened.
Right.
You know.
And it's sad that it's not like that's not known more, right? And so the things that I try and do anytime I talk to anybody is like lay everything out. But to your point, I kind of lean back to that same thing, that it's like, look, I can't create for you a perfect scenario, but I can tell you and help you to develop a skill set that no matter what the scenario, will get you some success. Yeah. Right. Now, will it get you ultra super successful? I don't know. Can't guarantee that. It may, if you apply that in the right times, but I can tell you, if you apply these principles and you apply this work ethic, like you're going to go forward. Oh, yeah. Right. Well, you're not going to just stop and end up, wherever you're at. So I think it's a great time right now to get into the tech area. There's so much that's going on. There's so much that's going to change even going forward. Right. I've been studying a lot about what everybody's calling, like, the metaverse and the technology that are coming out, is where it seems like humanity is hell-bent on trying to make all these sci-fi movies a reality, where we are connected into some of the feedback. Yeah. I mean, I've seen too many companies now at this point building like the haptic feedback systems and other stuff in there. I'm like, all right, so cool. But it's constantly, but it's from that aspect, it's going to bring us, and the augmented reality, right? Just more things with technology that we have to understand from a coding perspective, from a product management perspective, from a security perspective, right? Interesting about it, it's been about 10 years now since I went to Tapia's supercomputing conference. Actually, probably a little bit longer than that. And I remember at the time there was a gentleman from one of the intelligence agencies, I can't remember, and it talking about parallel computing and where they saw computing going. And I remember getting into this conversation with them, and bringing in some other folks, and I was just like, I asked them like what they saw the threat level when they looked at things like parallel computing and where that's going, considering that everything we know about algorithms, right, and how we can like use this algorithm to take you 500 years for somebody to break it, right? That's all based on singular threaded processing power that we have now. When we talk about parallel computing and even quantum computing, right, all that goes out the window, right? Because as fast as a computer goes, at the end of the day, it's still processing things in serial, right? When you truly get to parallel and you're breaking things apart, or you're getting to quantum when you're not even hard to explain, it's not even really parallel. It's both 0 and 1 at the same time. Like your ability to process information, like all those numbers goes out the window. So it's the most secure cryptographic, algorithm that we have. I don't know if it holds up once we get there, right? And so he kind of paused and he looks at me and he goes, I'll just say that we are researching it very, like, it was that very like clear answer. Everybody was like, Dave, stop asking questions before you end up disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably happening already. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot going on at these 3-letter agencies up here. So
yeah, it has been it has been interesting to watch how those agencies have taken to this and kind of transformed. So I started my career working for Lockheed Martin, and then had my TSSCI, and then so I was the Beltway Bandit, right? So I did all of it, right? So I worked at just every single intelligence community.
I'm sure we know some of the same people too. The community's small, man.
It is. Probably. It's been, so I left in 2008 and literally did not look back. I got a couple of friends now that started their own companies. They're doing some things there. And I told them like I'll support anywhere I can, but it was just I got so fed up with the bureaucracy of that place. I just couldn't do it. Yeah. Which I get it, right? I mean, I think it's all about temperament. I just didn't have the temperament for it. I'm just like, man, I can't deal with this, right? I want to go somewhere and then kind of actually be, cutting edge and innovative and doing some things where like we're actually being efficient. Like, but anyway, what I do miss, it was funny, I was talking to a buddy last year. What I do miss about that environment is the complexity of the problems, right? Yeah. Like to this day, I have not seen problems as complex. And for somebody who loves problem solving, it's like when I try to explain to people, I was like, working on the government of some of these problems sometimes is like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube with one eye closed and one hand behind your back.
Mhm.
Like, it's not
But it's-
necessarily that the problem is hard, but it's just you have all these other restrictions and
Yeah.
other things you have to put into place. It's like, now do that. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
But it's therapeutic and it's soothing, you know? And then when you're out of it, you're like, man, I miss it. Even though when I was in it, I didn't like it,
Right.
but I miss it, you know? It's a really weird feeling.
It is. Like I said, I miss the problem solving, but I don't miss everything else with it. So kudos to you. So I wanted to talk to you about mentorship, right? So I had the honor, the privilege, right, of being in a Twitter space with you and Beatrice Kiddo like just a couple of weeks ago. It was really cool. And we had a lot of people just come up and talk, but I heard a couple of people just talk about, how you've mentored them and kind of stepped in and given them advice and where they needed to go and kind of help them get to their career. So talk to me a little bit about that and like what that means to you and how you view mentorship.
Okay, so I hope this makes sense. I have never offered mentorship,
Okay.
but I have never turned anyone down that's asked.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Right? So I've gotten to a point to where I've mentored a lot of people. Hopefully, I was able to be a good representative and provide them what they were looking for. There's some folks that are doing really, really well. I'd never wanted to, like I said, I'm not that rah-rah type.
Yeah.
So you'll probably never see me tweet about stats or statistics or how many people, I've helped, because I'm not trying to sell anything, right?
Right.
Everyone else's success is my reward. So when I see them, doing well, creating their own organizations, being on panels and podcasts and giving keynotes and speaking, I'm like, I'm happy for them, right? I'm proud of them. A lot of people, from the students, from the meetup groups, I've done over 100 talks at meetups. Someone's going to come up to me and ask me.
Right.
And my approach is, I just tell them, are you ready to work?
Right.
You know what I mean? Are you ready to put in the work? If you're ready to put in the work, then let's go. You know what I mean? Let's go.
Yeah.
The ride will be about 6 months to a year of pain. But everything on the other side of that is happiness, right? Everything you want in life is on the other side of hard. So let's get it. I'll help you go get it, but you gotta go get it. You know what I mean? I can't go get it for you. Just point you in the right direction. And it means a lot to me, right? It really does, to see people succeed, to help people, get through things that they didn't have the confidence to do, 3 months ago, or 6 months ago.
Yeah.
But to see them push through that, to see them give their first talk and then, have that light come on and they say, like, I could do this.
Right.
And I'm like, you're damn right you could do this. I told you you could do this a year ago.
Yeah.
So I just let them know that, I believe in them. And sometimes that's really all it takes for them to like get over that hump. So I let them know, I believe in you, right? I'm willing to invest in you, my time, effort, some classes sometimes, some money sometimes. And most of the people, I'll just maybe DM them on the side and be like, hey, I see what you're going through. This is how I can help. If you would like this help, great. If not, I'm always here if you need anything. And that's just my approach.
It's dope, man. It's dope, and I'm glad that you do it. I hope this comes across the right way. Like, I can tell, like, by the way you talk about it, like, you have the heart for it, right? Which I think is the biggest thing that is both needed and required in mentorship relationships, right? you truly have the heart to want to help and serve somebody else and see something in them and help them get there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not necessarily all about just, like you said, like you can't carry them. You can just be there to support them, give them the guidance that they need, but just kind of be that person in their corner to help them get there, which is so dope. I was talking to there's a couple that I met here out in Atlanta, and is at a social club that I'm a part of, and so we got to talking, and we were both kind of talking to our husband about like their business, and the wife was asking me questions about my career, things like that or whatever, and so the husband and I just started talking about our path going up and how sometimes, like, or not sometimes, most of the times, like, we're the only ones that look like us in the room, right? And how it was so important, like mentorship, and he was asking me like how I found that things. I was like, honestly, I was like, a lot of my mentors probably don't even realize they were. I just like get around them and realize they knew more than me, and I would never leave their side. I would just asking them questions until they told me to shut up, and they never did. So I kept asking questions.
Some of my mentors I've never met. I've never even had a conversation with.
Right. And it's the biggest thing about it. I remember the wife asked me. She was like, "Well, how did you know to go and seek that?" I was like, for me, it was understanding that while I know I'm intelligent and I believe in that, I have confidence in that, I also had a little bit of wisdom from, my parents and people that love me, to know that I don't know everything and I'm not going to always know everything.
Yeah.
And to humble myself enough to go, all right, I can learn. Right.
Yeah.
To put that ego aside for a little bit, no matter how good I thought I was at something, to say, hey, would you be willing to teach me? Right.
Yeah.
And that is something that I didn't realize that a lot of people don't get it and don't have. And that's probably the first thing, especially when I talk to younger people, that I'm noticing that I have to kind of start breaking through. It's like, hey, I want you to be confident. I really need you to humble yourself, right? Like you are, and the reason for that, it's not anything about pedestal building or anything like that, but it's like you cannot receive, right, if your cup's already full.
Yeah.
Nobody can pour anything into you if you feel like you're so full and you know everything, so you're not going to receive anything that somebody gives to you. Therefore, you're not wasting somebody else's time, and you're wasting your time.
Exactly. That pride is the devil,
Man.
And you gotta be, and you also have to be vulnerable enough, to let someone know what your weaknesses are.
Yeah.
Right. So they can build you up. But you also have to have trust, in the fact that the person that does know your weaknesses is not going to use that as a weapon against you.
Right.
And it takes a lot, to get to that point. But, the faster you can get there, the better, right? The faster or the more willing you are to get out of your comfort zone, the faster you can get to your growth zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish I would have figured this out 20 years ago,
Dude, we all say it, Harry. Man. If I knew half the stuff I knew now, like coming out of college, man.
Yeah.
Dangerous. But you know what? And what I always come down to when I have those thoughts is that, but I wouldn't have had the experiences that I've had. Yeah. And the good ones definitely outweigh the bad, but it's also, and I wouldn't quite have the growth and experience to go with that, right? Had I known all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of this stuff just comes with having to go through it, right? So while I always kind of have that thought, like, man, I wish I would have known this then. It's like I look at it, I was like, but you know what? What's led me to here, like I wouldn't change it for the world, right? I mean, some of these things have led it to strengthen relationships. My college buddies and I, man, we going on 20 years, man. And when I talk to a lot of people are like, wow, like, bro, you still talk to? I was like, man, like those are my brothers, man. Like we've been through everything together, right? And it's so when I look at that, right, it's things like that, like those experiences, right? A lot of the stuff I've come like learning from them and us talking to each other and us all, depending on leaning on each other to get through it together, things like that, help with that learning process. And it's like, I wouldn't trade. So if it meant me losing any of that stuff, right, I'd be like, nope, I'm good. Because all of that has made me the man that I am today, and all that stuff that I cherish, right?
Mhm.
So next best thing, right, is like we're talking about, we just get back, right? So we get back to the next generation coming up and making sure that people behind us have as much as they need. So I want to shift gears one more time.
Let's go.
So let's talk about, we got to bring up your superstarness.
Let's go. I'm all for it.
So let's talk about Ready to Love, man. So audience, C3 squad, let me let y'all know. All right. So if y'all don't know Ty here, so y'all see it, ladies, go ahead, take the picture. Y'all see this nice handsome man right here. So Ty was on the show Ready to Love, which if you haven't heard about it, from what I can tell, I haven't watched it yet. Not a big reality TV guy. Ty's gonna make me into one now because I'm like, look, somebody, so I go watch it.
Appreciate it.
Would it be fair to say it's bachelor-ish type show?
It is. It's dating. It's 10 guys dating 10 girls, and the world gets to watch, right?
Right.
And eventually, some people are gonna find love, some people aren't.
All right.
But the journey, you get to see it all. Oh well, you get to see it.
Right. So how did this come about for you, man? Like, what was it that
Actually, a good friend sent me a DM for the casting call on Instagram, right? And I was like, you know what? Bump it. Let's do it, right? I've been on stage a few times. I've done a little bit of, not runway, but, been on stage. I wasn't really shy, but I was like, let's do it. So I did it, but my approach to it was just to go all out. Be honest, not get caught up in the end, at the reunion telling lies on stage, right? I didn't want to be that dude. I wanted to keep it honest. I wanted to, represent myself in a way that my family would be proud, and my friends as well.
Yeah.
So I feel like I did that. I feel like I lived my truth. I made myself vulnerable to the world, right? There was like a couple things that I needed to get past, as a person. And that was figuring out what love is and figuring out why I was so hesitant to pull the trigger on marriage, right? Like what is really affecting me deep down inside. But once I did that, you can see that, shoot, I went all out. I did some evaluations, and I went in trying to figure out what love is, and I feel like I figured that out.
Okay.
It wasn't necessarily about the person.
Right.
So I figured out what love is, but I also figured out what love isn't. And, going through that one last journey felt like it made me a better person. Like I feel like I have all the answers now. Like I could be, a relationship guru.
Okay.
Right now. Like,
I said you got the answers
really
to the
good. I feel really good. I felt like I always had a talent, of reading people, seeing their pain, asking the right questions and stuff. I've always been really good at that. Like I would tell people, strangers, show me your dating profile and I'll tell you who you are. I'll tell you who you are. I'll tell you if you're hiding. You know what I mean? I could tell, I could tell. So I went in and, there were some things that I saw, and I made a decision. I felt like I understood the assignment. Some people need 8 weeks. Some people need eight days.
Right.
That's all.
So it sounds like you enjoyed the experience. It sounds like
I did it. I did it. It was emotional, right?
Yeah.
It's emotional. Like for everyone, it was emotional. And I applaud everyone, who stayed in it, who kept going. Because it wasn't easy. You know what I mean? It is not easy at all. Watching it is one thing, living it is different. But I guess afterwards, the scrutiny and the negativity that you have to deal with, knowing that you literally put your life on the line for the entertainment of strangers.
Right.
Right. But strangers want perfection. They want what they want. They want beauty queens. They want perfect 10s. And then they want those perfect 10s to work out and not have any issues and not, have problems of their own, and they're just nasty and negative people in the comments on your own page, and it's like, I can see you. You know what I mean? I can see you. Like, you were calling me ugly. Like, you are calling me ugly. Have you seen you? But now, the first couple of weeks, admittedly, you want to know what the people think about you.
Right. Yeah.
But once you start to see the negativity, you realize that, there's no need to be in those chat rooms or those forums. Let those people have their entertainment, or else you'll be in there trying to fight everybody. Like, you don't know me. You don't know me. You didn't take the time to watch none of my videos or nothing, But it's all good.
Well, man, that's when I first saw the tweet, I was like,
what is he talking about?
Huh?
Mm-hmm. You're probably thinking, what is he talking about?
Right. I was like, okay. And then like I saw the promotional tweet, I was like, wait, hold up. Like,
yeah.
Okay, so Ty's really, I was like, okay,
yeah,
so
it's real.
Yeah.
It's on a major network too.
Yeah.
It's major.
So, like, how much of it is like, because a lot of it seems scripted. Not that like I said, I haven't seen this show, but just those shows in general. So what was that like? How much of it was like it's not straight?
It's not scripted at all. It's 100% real.
They just literally just float around with the camera and be like, go.
People's lives. It's the editing can be manipulative, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you're not, they're trying to give 20 people airtime.
Right.
So they can't do an hour segment on everyone.
Right.
So they have to, try their best to give the best representation of the person and the story. And they have to sell the show as well. So, people in the entertainment business, they know what sells.
Yeah.
Drama, sex, fights.
Right.
All that stuff sells. It was working. I believe we were trending number 7 for the first time ever.
Okay.
But it's like I said, it's all real. It's just that sometimes, the castmates, they want to have a better representation of themselves. And the only time they get to really explain is when they're in an interview afterwards, after the show.
Yeah.
So that part stinks. But other than that, like it's a enjoyable experience, It don't hurt getting some additional exposure, walking in these DC streets and, people know who you are,
Follower count went up a little bit. I'm pretty sure the lit up.
Yeah. I'm not gonna complain,
That's cool, man. Hey, look, the fact that you can come out of it with some growth and with some perspective, perfect, beautiful. Kudos, man.
Thanks.
That's always the important thing. So I will definitely go. I will go check it out. So now that, and I appreciate all the time. Now that you're the superstar. So you didn't
superstar,
and everything now. You know what I mean?
I'm trying. Yeah.
You getting there, man. You getting there, man. So last kind of shift that I want to get to is like, so from where you are now, what's next, right? What's the next kind of big thing that you have planned, either like with Cover 6 or the things that you want to do? What's next on the roadmap for Mr. Ty Wilson?
Honestly, I want to start investing in organizations, right? I'm going to continue to build, on the platforms that I've already created. Of course, I'm going to continue to, help as many people as I can. But I think I'm going to take more chances, when it comes to investing in people, investing in strangers. I can't think of the word for it right now, but it's kind of like someone that just goes out and acquires companies. But I want to do it for people, and I don't even want any profit from it, right? I just have this urge to see people succeed, and if it means that I can use, my popularity to make that happen, if it means that I gotta double the amount of conferences that I speak at, I'll do that. So if it also means that, the mental health thing came up on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm going to push towards being more of a mental health advocate,
Okay.
letting the community know that, as Black men, it's okay that things affected you in your past,
Right.
that made you the person you are. And
Absolutely.
it's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't make you weak to admit to that, right? It doesn't make you soft. In that